You're listening to Interactive Wrestling Radio, featuring the Interactive Interview, courtesy of WrestlingEpicenter.com. Well, hello there. Welcome to another edition of Interactive Wrestling Radio and the archives of the Epicenter Anthology. This one was done during Christmas time 2004, just when Daniel Edler and I were starting to get on each other's nerves a little bit. So, on our numbering system, this is number 101. We only counted our interview with Simon Diamond, Pat Kenny. We also have Jimmy Hart and Missy Hyatt on the show. Now, I get why we might not have counted Missy. Missy was becoming a regular at the time. In fact, she becomes a regular later on in 2006, where she was one of the co-hosts of The Pile Driver. But she still was a guest. Jimmy Hart was like a legitimate other interview. So if you're tuning in just for Simon Diamond, hey, also listen in to Missy Hyatt and the Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart.
Hey, this is the Queen of Extreme, Francine, and you are listening to the Interactive Interview.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Christmas edition of the Interactive Interview with our special guest, Simon Diamond. Simon, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Doing real good. Of course, recently we just had Diamond Dallas Page on a few weeks ago, actually.
Yes.
And he was talking a lot about Turning Point and how great he thought the show came off. Of course, you're now with TNA. And you had a tag match on that card.
Yes.
How did you enjoy your match, and how do you think the card came off?
I enjoyed our match. There really wasn't much build-up to it.
Right.
But for what it was, I think it was entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the show overall was very, very good.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was very good. It was much needed.
Right.
At this stage in the company's history, we need to start. Unfortunately, we're in a situation where we need to start hitting home runs.
Right.
We can't hit singles and doubles. I think we did hit a home run, and I think that's something that everyone who was a part of the show can be proud of, especially, the guys in the main event, America's Most Wanted and Triple X, did a phenomenal job.
Yeah, they left it all in that ring that night, yeah. Absolutely.
An absolutely phenomenal job. I was watching some of the moves they were doing, I was going, not me. Not me.
Yeah. Is there any truth to the rumor that match that you were involved in was supposed to be a six-man? Or six-person, I should say?
I don't know, to be honest with you. I had gotten a call and said that it was a tag match. But then I had heard something in the back that said that it originally was scheduled to be a six-person. But I don't know. I never heard anything other than it was supposed to be a tag match. And then I just heard, the click, I call it clickety-clack in the back.
Yeah.
Just rumblings. Yeah, I think it was supposed to be a six-man type of deal, so.
Upon reading up on your career, I saw, or your life, I should say, I saw that you were a college athlete.
Yes.
It said that, it was pretty inconspicuous, it said that you suffered an injury that prevented you from playing pro sports.
I dislocated and separated my shoulder 3 times within the span of 2 months. When that happened, I developed bone spurs in my right shoulder, which is my throwing shoulder, and I was a catcher. Now, back then, the arthroscopic surgery and the rehabilitation wasn't as technical as it is today, where you can get a guy basically back on the field in several weeks. Back then, it was several months. My shoulder never healed correctly for some reason, and I later had to go back and have another surgery on it, and that pretty much killed my baseball career at the time, which was my junior year. That happened in between my sophomore and junior seasons, so I only played 2 seasons at Virginia Commonwealth.
You did return to baseball for a short time, though, didn't you?
No, I never returned again in college. 3 years ago, actually, I approached by a couple guys who work out at my gym who play on a semi-pro team up in North Jersey to play on their team after they had, I had met them, and they had, a couple of them were wrestling fans, and they had heard about my baseball background, and they had approached me about playing. And I was very hesitant at first because the last time I played, was 8 years ago. So I was like, man, this is going to be kind of weird, And I have a very big fear of failure. It's something that really scares me. So I was like, oh my God, I'm going to go, and I'm going to be awful, and what am I going to do? And the last time I played, I was this spectacular athlete, and, how am I going to be able to deal with the fact that I'm not going to be that good anymore? And as perverse as that sounds, it really, was like a major hurdle in my life when I decided, I'm going to go back. Well, I was actually talked into it, and I said, I'm going to go back, I'm going to have fun, and if I don't perform up the level that's acceptable to me, I'll just coach or something. But I was actually pleasantly surprised at how well I performed, and I'm still playing today.
Well, obviously you also found your niche in professional wrestling.
Yes.
What made you decide to actually become a wrestler?
I was working at Pepsi Cola in Westchester, Pennsylvania. I had, after my senior year in college, and I hadn't finished my degree yet, I was working, my high school baseball coach got me the job, working for Pepsi Cola during the summers, doing, grunt work. Mostly building displays or driving with the drivers on the route trucks and just stuff like that. And there was a job opening in between my senior year of college to go back, and I took that. My boss came to me and said, listen, if you apply for this job, you'll get it. So I applied for the job. It was in marketing and stuff. And through that, I met a guy who worked out in the warehouse by the name of Charlie Hiltner, who was a wrestler on the independent circuit for Jim Kettner. And we just started talking, and he was like, you should try it. And I was always gigantic fan, huge. And because I always needed that physical... I always needed that sport or activity in my life, and I wasn't going to play baseball anymore. I was like, this might actually fill the void. So when that happened, he actually talked me into going in for a tryout, and I went in for a tryout, and that was it. And Kettner approached me about 2 years after I started. And he said, I've been training guys for 20 years, and you can make it. He goes, you have the tools, you have the skills. He goes, now you have to just prepare yourself for life after wrestling, or if you don't make it, because you're going to need some luck. So at that time, I decided to go back to school, to go back to Virginia Commonwealth and finish my degree so that I could come home, and really pour myself headfirst into this wrestling dream that I had. So that's basically what I did.
Much of your early success came in a company called PCW.
Yes.
How did you enjoy working for PCW?
It was a lot of fun. I basically was working for the ECWA, and for Jim Kettner, who trained, and he had a working relationship with Blaine DeSantis, who was running PCW, and through that, I started working for them. That was a lot of fun. Back then, we had me, Steve Carino, Reckless Youth, Crowbar, Ace Darling, Billy Kidman, Christian, Test, Edge, who was known as Sexton Hardcastle back then. So we had a really, really, really good group.
Yeah, absolutely. And the first time I had a chance to see you was with ECW.
Yeah.
Of course, in ECW, your most prominent fame came when you actually started teaming with Johnny Swinger.
Yeah.
How did that actually come to pass, and how do you guys get along today? Keep in mind, this is shoot, not kayfabe, so.
We were in Atlanta, Georgia, and this was in between my when I was doing the gimmick with Dick Hertz.
Yeah.
And then he left, which I had a lot of fun doing.
Yeah.
And actually was gaining a lot of momentum and steam, but then he was fired from the company.
Any reason why?
He kind of had
he had a problem. Yeah.
Yeah, he kind of had a problem at one of the shows in Trenton, New Jersey, and it kind of left a bad taste in everybody's mouth, and that pretty much killed it. And it was funny because that day I was supposed to work Dreamer, and as the deal went, you worked Dreamer on the house shows, and if you basically passed that test, then you would start to get the big push. And here I was getting ready to, the big test with Dreamer, and that was the day that Dick decided to go on a rampage and tear up the locker room, and that was that.
Wow.
So we're in Atlanta, Georgia, and Tommy Dreamer, who I always had a lot of respect for, and he kind of always allowed me the freedom of giving him input into what I did because I guess he respected my knowledge of the business, which I always was very grateful for and was very flattered. He came up to me and said, what would you rather do? What do you think would be better? A singles match against Swinger or a tag match, you and Swinger, against two of Dusty Rhodes' students? Well, at the time, we were just getting ready. This was May, because I had just gotten my contract. So this was May of '99.
Right.
And we were just getting ready to, actually May of 2000. We were just getting ready to have the tag team tournament at the Hammerstein Ballroom, which I was aware of. So I said, you know what, I want to get in that tournament. I think Swinger and I could be a decent team. So I was told, and another reason was I wanted Dusty to watch my match because I was a big Tully Blanchard fan as a kid, and I valued Dusty's opinion. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to get Dusty to watch my match, and then I'll critique it. So, because he's going to watch his students.
Right.
So I went back to him and I said, make it a tag. And it just clicked. It just clicked from the beginning. And, to this day, Swinger's my best friend in the business. That will never change. He and I get along great. We've been through a lot of tough times together, and we've been through a lot of good times. And, we talk every day, and, he's a very, if you can count, if you can actually accumulate good friends in this business, you're ahead of the game. And I feel that I'm ahead of the game because I have accumulated some good friends.
No, that's absolutely true. Absolutely true. Of course, the WWE just released the rise and the fall of ECW.
Yeah.
We just had Missy Hyatt on literally about 10 minutes ago, and she was discussing that she didn't think that parts of it were quite fair. She thinks that Heyman was a little bit protecting himself as opposed to telling the truth. Do you first of all, have you seen it?
It's an absolutely phenomenal DVD, probably one of the best ones that I've seen.
Do you feel that what was said is absolutely accurate?
It's accurate, but I thought that they left some things out.
What do you feel was the real demise of ECW?
There was several demises. TNN certainly was one of them.
Yeah.
I think the other demise was that Paul stopped creating stars. A lot of that can be attributed to the fact that Paul is a very, very hands-on person and did not want to delegate authority. When we took on national television, we had national television, we had the TNN show, and we also had the hardcore right. That was still running in major markets, MSG, in New York, Sports Channel in Philadelphia. It was running on GTW 48 in Philadelphia. It was running in Chicago. It was running in...
Yeah, I was a Jersey boy, so I was up at 2 in the morning watching it. So.
There you go.
Yeah.
But it was still running. So, he basically had 2 hours a week of television that he produced. He had to book 2 hours of television. You know, and he, like I said, Paul is a control freak. He wanted to have complete and ultimate control of his baby that he created. You know, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you do that, something is going to suffer. And unfortunately, what suffered was the fact that Paul, and one of Paul's greatest attributes was the fact that he brought new stars into the wrestling genre. He introduced the American fans to Benoit. He introduced the American fans to Malenko. He introduced the American fans to Eddie Guerrero. I mean, certainly the hardcore fans knew who he was because they followed their careers in Japan. But then Paul was the one who brought him over here. Paul brought in the luchadors. Paul reinvented Sandman. Paul helped reinvent Sandman. Paul helped reinvent Raven. Paul helped invent Tommy Dreamer. Wrestling is a star power-driven industry, as all sports are.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Baseball, same thing.
Well, yeah, and first of all, wrestling is, and this is the argument I always get into, wrestling is first and foremost a business.
It is a business.
Yeah.
And when you're, and the bottom line of professional wrestling is to sell tickets and
merchandise and, you know,
merchandise
everything.
And accumulate buy rates. And the way you do that is with larger-than-life star power.
Mm-hmm.
Other sports, sports has the luxury of teams.
Mm-hmm.
That the following is handed down from generation to generation. I'm a humongous Notre Dame fan, merely from the fact that everyone, growing up Irish Catholic, it was basically a foregone conclusion that everyone in my family would follow and fall in love with Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
That's the luxury of a team sport. Wrestling is a star power-driven industry. When the stars of ECW, Taz, the Dudleys, Raven, when
they all left,
when these guys started to leave, just like any team, you have to replace the stars.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, that wasn't happening. Really, if you look at it, the last star that Paul created was Steve Corino.
Mm-hmm.
And I still believe he had a couple guys that he really could have made stars.
Yeah, I believe so too.
That never happened. And it really wasn't his fault, because Paul was such a control freak and he had so many things that he had to take care of. It just basically kind of slipped by. But, you know, like, I mean, you look at the New York Yankees. I was a big Reggie Jackson fan, so that's what attracted me to the Yankees. Once again, star-driven industry. Reggie Jackson's star power when he went to New York, you know, that's why I became a Yankee fan. I'm sure there were many people like me. When Reggie left, I stuck with the Yankees because I learned about the tradition and history. So Reggie leaves, in comes Dave Winfield, another star. Dave Winfield leaves, enter Don Mattingly. So you see how, you know, out with the old, in with the new, and that new person will keep fans.
Right. And to a lesser extent, you can look at the WWF and see, you know, when Hogan left, they built Brett.
There you go. With Brett, you know, Brett, and then Shawn.
And then Stone Cold, and
Shawn, and Stone Cold to Triple H, Triple H, then The Rock, Mick Foley, you know, and that's part of their problem today, is that star power has been diminished.
Okay, now you made one appearance for the short-lived NECW product. Almost everybody that we bother posing this question to, last at the promoter, but why do you feel that MECW never really took off?
MECW, that was with John Collins.
That's correct.
Why it never took off? Money. Money, the number one factor most promotions don't take off. You need a lot of money. You have more than I was just talking about star power. So if you're going to open up a promotion, more than likely you need a star. You need some type of star power to generate interest in your product, not just from fans, but from, if you're trying to sell that product to TV executives and put it on television, they're going to want to see, well, okay, what do you have? Okay, here's what I have. I have Steve Davis, Ron, the Nightmare, Freud, the Crustacean, and, you know, they're going, well, who are these guys?
Right.
Then you say, I have Mr. Perfect, I have Hulk Hogan. I think, oh, well, I remember him. So you take that, you're going to have to pay these guys. Then you're going to have to fly them in. Then you're going to have to pay production costs for your television. Then you're going to have to pay people who work for you. And then the next thing you know, you're talking about a six-figure weekly payroll.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the time when a promotion doesn't take off, it's because of lack of financial backing.
Mm. Yeah, there's another promotion that didn't take off that you were part of in about the same time frame was the XWF.
Yeah, and you know what? I really believed, after going to the tapings and doing several of the house shows, I really thought that it would.
Yeah.
Out of all the promotions that I've worked for, quote-unquote upstart promotions that I've worked for, not including TNA, which has now lasted almost 2 years.
Right. Almost 3 years, actually.
Almost 3 years, excuse me.
Yeah.
XWF was by far the most professional, the most well-run, had the best financial backing, and I really believed that it really could have done something.
Why do you feel it didn't? Do you think it was more the money, or?
Again, from what I heard, the financial backers pulled out. Most wrestling, any person who invests money in something is going to want a return on their dollar. Unfortunately, wrestling is going to take years and years and years to turn a profit. Ask Vince McMahon. I mean, he almost bankrupted himself and borrowed to the hilt.
Right.
When he changed it from a regional promotion to a national. I mean, there was 3 years there, I believe, where he was losing money hand over fist.
Right.
But he finally turned a profit, and of course now, the numbers are exorbitant. And my dogs are agreeing. But it's going to take time to get a return on your investment. And most people don't have time to wait. So when they start seeing these bottom lines come in, we lost $20,000 on this house show.
Right.
We lost. We did a 2-day taping, and we spent $500,000 a day.
Wow.
Or so. I'm just making up numbers here.
Well, I wouldn't be. I've seen they ran some of the pay-per-views on the XWF last year, and the set was
off the charts.
The production, yeah, it was. They had pyro and everything.
You gotta pay for it.
Yeah, I know.
It's not free. So the next thing you know, well, okay, we have $500,000. We spent $500,000 here. We spent $500,000 here. Now, how much money do we generate? Well, we generated. They were letting the people in for free.
Yeah.
Okay, we sold some merchandise. Okay, we had $5 a head. There was 800 people in there.
$4,000. Yeah.
Okay, so we made $4,000. Any person outside of the wrestling industry, you say we made $4,000 of merchandise on it. We spent $1 million in 2 days. What are they going to tell you?
No, take a hike.
Exactly.
Right.
That's the problem. The people who are backing these corporations want the bottom line. Your business people are bottom line people. What are we going to make? And it's going to take, but it takes time. It takes time. I always say the roof and the floor are like California and Delaware apart.
Yeah.
You can make millions and millions of dollars if you finally get all your ducks in a row, or you can lose billions of dollars.
Yeah, and so far it seems like there's only been a few that actually have done the latter and made millions. So.
Exactly.
Yep.
Now, when you and Swinger made your return to TNA in 2003, you became a really solid tag team and tag team champions really quickly. Of course, during that time, you had a plethora of matches with America's Most Wanted. So how did you enjoy those?
Loved working with America's Most Wanted. They're very good. I had actually told Swinger when I saw America's Most Wanted work, watching one of the pay-per-views, and I had actually remember talking to Swinger one day. I said, you know what? If TNA was smart, they'd bring us in and work a program against those guys. And of course, what a prophet I was is they finally did, smarten up and bring us in.
Right.
I thought we could have gotten a lot more out of it. Personally, I thought they pulled the trigger a little early on us breaking up. That wasn't my call. But I thought we could have gotten a lot more out of it.
At the same time, you were working for a company, MLW, and I'd hate to be repetitive with the questions, but why do you feel that company didn't work?
Financial backing. It's all financial backing. I mean, you can sit here and analyze and say, well, they brought in these guys, and they should have brought in this guy, and they should have done this, and they should have done that, and that's all fine and good, and that's, Monday morning quarterbacking.
Right.
But it all comes down to finances. And once again, I'm sure, MLW was a blast.
Yeah.
Working as the Extreme Horsemen with CW and Steve Carino and Just Incredible. And Steve and CW I had always talked about that in ECW before. Here's a little trivia for you. Mm-hmm. When I sat down to discuss my contract with Paul, he told me that he was going to put myself, CW, and Steve Carino in a group similar to the Horsemen. That all got changed quickly when Swinger and I became a tag team.
Right.
But anyway, I loved working with Steve and CW and Justin as the Extreme Horsemen. I had a blast. It was fun, and it was challenging to be one of the top guys in the company. I thought it was a completely different thing. That I thought that even though I was still Simon Diamond, I had a different type of edge upon me in MLW. I thought it was different, but at the same time, I thought that one of the things I did was I showed I could play a kick-ass, serious character along with the semi-comedy acting that I did in ECW.
Right.
And I showed my versatility, which I'd always had said is probably my strongest point. Is I could wrestle a hardcore guy, I can wrestle a technical guy, I can wrestle a quote unquote strong style guy, I can wrestle a comedy guy. And I always thought that was one of my strongest. That was my strongest point. Is my versatility. So that fact of MLW I loved. Court brought in a lot of younger guys. Once again, we're in a star-driven industry.
Right.
Unless you have that star power, you're going to run into problems. Unless you can find a cult following or a niche pretty quickly. We were not able to do that. We ran Florida a lot. I think Florida's a great wrestling state.
Right.
I think what Court was trying to do was recapture the ECW audience.
Right, and the ECW, it actually looked like ECW.
Yes.
To a lot of people.
And I always said, once ECW closed, let it close.
Right.
It's dead.
That's what we had Father James Mitchell, and his exact quote was, when he saw the MLW TV, he just thought, let ECW rest in peace.
Yeah, let it rest in peace. It was it changed the industry forever. It innovated stuff in wrestling that you're still seeing today. Let it rest.
Yep, absolutely. You mentioned it a couple minutes ago when they did the split with you and Johnny Swinger. Is it disheartening for you as a performer to be doing an angle that looks like it should be getting a good crowd reaction, yet the redneck crowds are chanting ICP?
Yes. I could lie to you and say no. Yes, it's very disheartening. But that wasn't so much the redneck crowd as, did I just make myself a big heel in Nashville, Tennessee. And that wasn't so much the redneck crowd as it was the ICP has a following called the Juggalos, who literally, I'm not kidding you when I say this, they would take over the asylum.
Yeah, they were. And
they would be out there partying in the parking lot, like tailgating. I mean, I went to the Notre Dame game this year at I go out once a year every year. I also went to the Navy game in East Rutherford. I went out to the Notre Dame-Pittsburgh game. The game was at 2:30. Me, my father, and we were out tailgating at 9 a.m. These people were doing the same thing. The show started at 7. They were in the parking lot by and they would of course, drink and get, rowdy and get fired up, and they would go into the asylum, and they would basically take over the asylum, and they were there to see one thing only, the Insane Clown Posse. That was it.
Right. I absolutely agree.
But that's that's you need to bring. You want to try and cross over into different industries, so you say, well, we can cross over into the music industry. Maybe we can get some of the music, maybe some of their fans to start watching our show. So that's the risk, but that's the risk that you take when you do that.
Yeah, and especially with that kind of an intimate venue where there's so few.
Especially with that type of intimate venue and with those type of passionate, hardcore fans.
Yeah, it's like going back to '78 and having Kiss wrestle.
I was the perfect. Well, if it was Kiss, there would probably be, you wouldn't be able to move in the parking lot.
Absolutely.
The Kiss Army would definitely overtake the Asylum. And
I am a member.
Fairgrounds and everything.
Proud member of the Kiss Army here.
So am I. Ace Frehley is God.
Well, Daniel's not, so we can argue about him that later. Okay. Daniel?
I'll be on the outside. But...
Get with the clue, Daniel. Come on. Get your Kiss Army patch and sew it on the back of your jean jacket. What's wrong? It was the first Kiss album, Hotter Than Hell, and another album. It was all in one package.
Right.
And when I got that, in it they had, like, the big Kiss Army sticker, which, of course, went right onto my wall.
Right.
And then I had the patch. And I didn't have a jean jacket back then, but I had a Vikings. I was a big Vikings fan when I was a kid because of Chuck Foreman and Alan Page. And So I put the Kiss Army patch. I made my mother sew it on my jacket. Now picture me, this little jock kid with his Minnesota Vikings jacket from Sears that every kid in school had. You either had the Vikings, the Eagles, the Dolphins, the Steelers were very popular back then, the Cowboys. I had the Vikings with the matching acrylic hat, the patch on the left sleeve.
Yeah, it sounds like me and my brother-in-law, man. To this day, I have all the 4 Kiss faces on the back of my jacket.
Have. Can you hold on for 1 second?
Not a problem.
I have a shirt that just has Ace's face on it that I bought at the '98 concert. I wear it to the gym every day. I'm not kidding you.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember I used to go to the gym in New Jersey, and you might remember him, Jimmy Powers.
Yes.
Yeah, he used to come into there, whatever they had on the loudspeaker, push him aside, put a Kiss tape in. That was him. And
that's how it should be.
Absolutely.
That's how it should be.
Now, just going back to, obviously, you're now in TNA, you're now Pat Kenny as opposed to Simon Diamond. But why did you change the name?
Because they came up to me and told me.
Are you happy about that or no?
It's not working. The reason why is because, and I didn't realize this, or I probably would have been more vocal about it when it happened. Once you carve an identity in the wrestling business, it is next to impossible to change that identity.
Right.
Go back in time and look at people who have changed identities and gimmicks and what have you. Whichever one they had the most success at, they first carved their niche at, was usually the one
people remember.
That people remember them by.
Like Gilberti, for example.
There you go.
Yeah, people stole Chance Disco out of them. Right.
Exactly. Because of the popularity of ECW, and I think a lot of people don't give ECW the credit that it deserves. I'm not sitting here leading a cheer for ECW. I'm just saying that ECW was a lot more influential in the business than a lot of people want to give it credit for. For whatever reason, that's fine. But because of that, and the ECW fans were very, very passionate, I believe that Simon Diamond was created, and Simon Diamond, no matter what I wrestle under, people will always remember me and know me as Simon Diamond. When we did a fan fest before the last pay-per-view,
right,
everyone, pretty much 9 out of 10 people who came up to me said, would you sign this as Simon Diamond? And it was then that I said to myself, you know what?
Hello?
other than Simon Diamond. You know, the only way they could have gotten the name change really to be accepted would have been a full front attack on television. You know, but that wasn't going to happen.
Right.
And that's fine. But, you know, it's just something that probably it's not working right now, but maybe in the future something can be done to get it along or get it going down a different venue or avenue or something.
Just a different thought that I had. You mentioned earlier Mr. Perfect, so I think that's another example. You know, he was wrestling under Kurt Hennig, but people still call him Mr. Perfect.
Yeah, it's tough. You know, wrestling is reality-based today. But just because you wrestle under your real name doesn't mean that's who you really are.
Absolutely.
You know, Pat Kenny is a guy who, you know, I'm Irish. I love to drink. It's not a stereotype.
Right.
I'm not afraid to say that. You know, but you know, Pat Kenny's personality and Simon Diamond's personality are apart, and Simon Diamond's personality is more conducive towards wrestling than Pat Kenny's.
Absolutely. Of course, you've had a couple tag partners since Johnny Swinger. One was Sonny Siaki. Now on the pay-per-view team with Johnny B. Bad, Mark Merrow. Given what you said that you don't think it's working, what would you suggest is going to happen in the future? And is it you going to stick into the tag team division?
What would I suggest? I would suggest going back to what brought me to the dance. That's what I would suggest.
Well, I think you could probably do that if you turned heel, maybe.
Will I stay in the tag division? I don't know. Possibly, maybe not. I enjoy tag team wrestling. I think tag team wrestling is a dying art.
Yeah, well, that's true definitely in the WWE.
Yeah.
They really don't even have tag teams.
It's a dying art. It's a lost art.
You don't think there's any way to revive it?
Yes, there is. There is. You just have to put more emphasis. It's like anything. How do you know, people always say, well, how can we get this guy over? Well, put more emphasis on him.
Right.
You know, put more emphasis on the guy. You know, people. You know, I always say that. I always say this when I'm talking about getting people to respond to someone. Name me the most popular teams in baseball.
Yankees, San Francisco Giants, so forth.
Red Sox.
Well, sorry, should have done that.
Dodgers. I'm a big Yankee fan, but it's okay if you say Red Sox.
Okay.
What do those teams have in common?
Well, big money, first of all.
And what else? Success.
Yep.
Years and years of success. Basketball. Name the most popular teams. Lakers. Sixers.
Bulls.
Pistons. Celtics. What do all these teams have in common? Years and years of success. Success breeds popularity.
Okay. Where were we? I'm sorry, I've just lost my place in the questions here.
It's not rocket science, as I always tell people.
Well,
it's funny. It's because I help book independent show here in New Jersey. And people think, oh, booking's really easy. All you got to do is this and this. Booking's not. It's very, very hard.
Well, yeah.
It's very hard to get people in a program, to get a storyline behind it, to get the people interested in it, to have a culmination of the program, and then to get the two people out of the program headed into another program in a different direction. And that's basically your steps to what you're trying to do. It's very hard.
Yeah, you mentioned here in New Jersey. I'm formerly from New Jersey. I unfortunately moved. What part of New Jersey are you from, if you don't mind me asking?
Middlesex County.
Okay, I'm from.
I won't have people trying to find me.
I know, obviously not. But I'm originally from Richfield in Bergen County. So cool. Oh, cool. Well, it's good to have that. Hey, Dan, you want to take the next one?
Yeah, sure. There was a UK independent show out here, which was advertised for March, and you were one of the guys advertised for it.
Yes.
Is that still happening, or what?
Last I heard, it wasn't, but I haven't been contacted by the group since I heard that, so I don't know if that was a rumor or not.
Yeah,
Cool. Cool. Daniel?
So now, obviously, you've spoken about not being sure whether you're going to tag or go into the singles division in TNA. But where would you ideally envision yourself if you were in charge?
If I was in charge, where would I envision myself?
I mean, you mentioned you book locally. So if you was added as the newest booker in TNA, where would you put yourself?
If I was the newest booker in TNA, I would make myself.
Please don't say world champion.
No, I would take myself off of the product. I would take myself out of the product, or I would make myself a backstage interviewer or something like that.
Right.
But I would not. I would try not to wrestle, just because I don't think it's possible. You're either going to do one of two things if you book your own stuff. If you're the booker and you wrestle, you're going to do one of two things. You're either going to overuse yourself,
right,
or underuse or overutilize yourself or underutilize yourself. That's human nature.
Yep.
Right or wrong, that's human nature.
Absolutely.
You know, a lot of people on the internet were bad-mouthing Jeff, saying, "Well, why is he's a booker and he's making himself world champion?" But in Jeff's defense, Jeff Jarrett, at the time when he put the belt on himself, if you really look at it objectively, was probably the best choice for that. Once again, star-driven industry.
Right.
And Jeff, as world champion, could lead the company, and that's what Jeff thought he had to do. He had to lead the company. That was another factor. And
there's no danger there either, because
exactly.
if he leaves, he's not going to leave anyway.
You don't have to worry about your champion holding you up. You don't have to worry about your champion walking out on you. You don't have to worry about your champion dogging in the match. Because guess what? You're the champion. But I would like make myself like the commissioner or backstage interviewer or something like that. In that regard, that's just how I would do it.
You mentioned sports several times, and I know a couple years ago you were, as far as I remember, you were winning the football pool, I should say. Any predictions on the Super Bowl this year?
Eagles in the NFC will still get there. I don't think New England will get there because Charlie Weiss has to be he has to be the offensive coordinator for New England, and he has to be the head coach for Notre Dame. And that's two pretty demanding jobs. I think New England will take a little bit of a hit and lose in the AFC Championship game. Who do they lose to? Do they lose to Pittsburgh? Do they lose to Indianapolis? I don't think Indianapolis can stop anybody. I think Pittsburgh it will probably have the home field advantage now for the playoffs.
Right.
Although New England may get in there. You know what? I'm going to go with as a true blue Notre Dame fan, I'm going to say New England reaches the Super Bowl.
Okay, cool.
I'll change my prediction. I'll say it'll be New England and Philadelphia.
So, do you mind if we close out with some word associations?
Most certainly.
We do it a little differently. If you want to say one-word answer, that's fine. If you have a story that pops in your mind, we're more than happy to listen to that, too.
We've just talked for the past 45 minutes. Do you really think I'm capable of giving you a one-word answer?
Well, we thank you, first of all, for your time, too.
Sure.
All right, first name on the list is former tag partner Johnny Swinger.
Great guy, underutilized.
How about your former boss, Paul Heyman?
I always call him the eccentric madman genius who is unable to conform to society's rules, but that's what makes him so driven to succeed.
Your former stable in MLW, the Extreme Horsemen.
Great guys, very, very talented, a lot of fun to hang around with.
Someone you just worked for in 3PW, Jasmine St. Clair.
Very, very different. Definitely has something there in 3PW.
How about your tag partner from Turning Point, Johnny B. Bad, Mark Merrill?
Great guy. Very upbeat, very positive, very energetic.
Speaking of all three words of that, how about Diamond Dallas Page?
Don't know him that well, but he does yoga, and I'm a big fan of stretching. So, I'm glad he's a part of TNA right now because we need him.
Yeah, he's definitely a star.
Yes.
David Young?
Another great guy. I really thought TNA may have missed the boat on him, and I thought he could have been a great goofball babyface.
How about, this is going to be a tough one. Dawn Marie?
Hardest worker I've ever met. Will outwork anybody. Her work, she's a workaholic, and her work ethic is off the charts. And we're still actually, when I had to ask you to hold on, she was the one who was just calling me. We're still great friends. Things didn't work out in a relationship. That's life. Wrestling is not conducive towards relationships, unfortunately. But we did save our friendship, and that's a plus.
Absolutely. And I got two more for you, unless my partner has any. First is Vince McMahon.
The boss, the man who's running the show. He, I actually met him. He's a very intimidating man as well.
Yeah, I can see that for sure. Well, I lied. I'm going to give you two more now.
Go ahead.
Somebody that I'm actually writing the autobiography for, easy for me to say. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat.
Probably the finest baby face of his era. He had no equal as far as technical wrestling. He was even more technical than Brett and Flair. His execution was flawless, and he is the poster boy for the perfect arm drag in professional wrestling.
Definitely a great answer there. And the last one I have for you, unless my partner comes in with any, is your boss now, Jeff Jarrett.
Probably misunderstood because of a lot of the things that he had to do, but a very upbeat guy who wants this thing to succeed more than anything.
You said that early, that you thought that Turning Point had to be a home run, and you mentioned that you thought all these shows had to be a home run. Do you think it will succeed?
If it's given time, it will succeed. I really believe that. The wrestling industry is starving for something else, an alternative. So, but I think it will succeed. I think it will be given time, and I think that it will succeed. Mostly because the guys who are there want it to succeed and will do anything to help it succeed. And anyone who's in the wrestling business should go to church every Sunday and pray to God that it succeeds, because it's for the welfare and the well-being of the wrestling business. Really, if you look at it, it is. I'm not just saying that and tooting the company that I work for's horn. If you are a wrestling fan and you want to see wrestling continue to flourish and continue to be a part of the sports entertainment landscape, sports landscape, whatever you want to call it, then you want to see TNA succeed, because if it fails, then we go back to the WWE being the only thing, and then when that happens, it's not good for the industry as a whole.
I definitely would agree with that. Daniel, do you have anything you want to throw in?
I've just got a few names I'd like to throw in. First off, the Outsiders, and part of the Kings of Wrestling, Kevin Nash and Scott Hall.
Probably two of the funniest guys you'll ever meet. Instant laughs in the dressing room.
Randy Savage.
He probably was next to Tully Blanchard, in my eyes, the greatest heel in the wrestling business when he first came onto the scene with Miss Elizabeth. You hated that guy, and that's what a heel's all about. He wasn't really cool until they started to break up him and Elizabeth.
Right.
Or actually until they broke Elizabeth off with him.
Right.
And the very final one that I've got for you, Vince Russo.
Vince is a friend of mine. He certainly helped change the landscape of the business, too, with what he did. He's also a very big sports business. Because if you think about it, all the other horsemen were cheered.
Still there?
Except for Tully.
And for that reason, and I know I'm going to go on a tangent here, and I don't want to keep you too much longer because I know we went longer than any of us expected, but we really do appreciate your time. I just want to say that my opinion on why the NWO worked, and I discussed this in detail with Terry Taylor, was that Hogan was the absolute heel. He wasn't cool. He was just a heel. He was a bad guy.
Do you remember when Hogan put that ridiculous wig on himself?
Which one? In Halloween Havoc?
That blonde...
It's spiked hair.
Blonde hair wig.
He looked like Sting, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Remember how ridiculous he looked with that thing on?
Yeah, but still, you know, the crowd hated it.
Terminology, that's called showing ass. And that's what a heel needs to do. And when he did that, he basically, I mean, it was a stroke of genius. As subtle as that is, it was a stroke of genius. And you're 100% right. There was nothing cool about that Hulk Hogan. Yeah. And that's why it was so effective.
And it would not have worked had it been, say, and I'm not, no disrespect to the individual, but had it been like Lex Luger in his place, it would not have worked as well.
Nope. Hogan was willing to show ass, and he did it at such extremes, and that's what made it so good.
Well, I thank you so much for your time, sir, and you mentioned pray to God on Sunday, so I think it's no problem being politically incorrect here and saying Merry Christmas.
I love politically incorrect.
Right, Merry Christmas to all.
Hey, this is the Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart, the world's greatest wrestling manager, if I do say so myself. And you're listening to the Interactive Interview. That's #1, baby.
And we're back here with the Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart. Jimmy, how you doing?
Man, I am doing fantastic.
Oh, well, we saw on TV, and not that much coverage, I saw on the TNA Turning Point preview, that your book has been released. So what can you tell us about the release of your new book?
Well, finally, the life story of the Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart. It just came out a couple of weeks ago on ECW, which is a book company out of Canada, out of Toronto, Canada. They've done a lot of wrestling books before, and so I'm just really thrilled to get this out. Plus, I'm on my way to Memphis tomorrow morning for our Memphis wrestling show that I do with Jerry the King Lawler down there. But also, there's a camera crew that's coming over from London that's going to spend 3 days with me, kind of doing the autobiography of the Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart. We're going to go to the high schools, the homes I used to live in, and of course the Mid-South Coliseum Channel 5 TV where we did our all of our shows. So we've got a lot of great footage we're going to put in it of Andy Coppin and Lawler and myself and the Hulkster and everybody. So we're really looking forward to that.
Wow, that really sounds like an incredible idea. A couple people have actually done that with the video instead of novel, but it's pretty good that you're going to have both, I think. Let me ask you this then. You mentioned that you're doing a TNA promotion right now. How are you enjoying the progress? Of course, the last time we had you on was just about at the beginning of the Impact era of TNA. How are you enjoying your job with TNA currently?
Well, you know what? I love being with these guys. You know, I knew Jerry Jarrett. He was my first boss before I went to New York for 10 years, and kind of grew up with him and learned a lot from him in the business. And of course, his son Jeff is the NWA Heavyweight Champion, and Jeff was part of our territory back then too, with refereeing and starting out before I left to go to New York. So it's kind of being back home with the family again. And it's great. I'm glad to see these guys get on Fox Sports Net and also be cutting up here at Universal Studios. My friend Sam Copeland and myself, we were kind of instrumental in putting all this together. Me with Universal, because I knew Pam Waring up here at Universal back when we did WCW, our matches here. And then, of course, Sam getting the deal with Fox Sports for them.
Is that the same exact arena that WCW used to tape worldwide?
Well, no, we had taped, we're at Soundstage 21. We had taped back then at Soundstage 22, but all the arenas are pretty close to being the same.
Because it looks similar to me. That's why I thought, okay. I don't know if you're going to answer this, but there was a segment, or an incident, I should say, with Macho Man Randy Savage, where he didn't really want you to be at the go position.
No, but I got to tell you the story. It's so wild and crazy.
Okay.
Because I'm not at the grill position or in the truck in the first place. So that was what was so bizarre. But what happened, I guess, Randy and Hulk have always had this thing going on. And, of course, you're always known by the company you keep. So I guess whoever's Randy's friends are on one side of the line and whoever's Hulk's friends are on the other. But I just happened to kind of be in the middle. But what happened, I think Randy was going to be on the shows up here. Hulk just happened to be in town coming back from a football game and came by. They bumped into each other. They talked for a few minutes. And the next day, I guess Randy's stipulations were, he wanted a black limousine, not a white one, to bring him back and forth up from Tampa to Orlando. And he wanted a private dressing room. He had to have security guards. And one of the stipulations is Jimmy Hart couldn't be on the headsets or in the truck, like I was going to sabotage his match or something. But the crazy part about it, I wasn't in the truck or on the headsets in the first place. So it was all very laughable. I mean, all the guys here made a big joke of it. Every time I'd walk by, they go, "Oh, there goes Jimmy Hart. We got to put my contract. He can't be in the truck. He can't be on the headsets. He can't be in the trailer. He can't be by the." I mean, it turned out to be so funny. It was ridiculous, really.
Yeah, I kind of thought it was funny because I'm thinking, well, what are you going to do to him,
And then the funny thing, then Randy left the territory after he came back the week later and talked to him about what he was going to do for the next program. Then he left. So how bizarre was that?
Yeah, that's probably the best word for it is bizarre. Do you know anything, and I'm not going to try to pry too deep into this, but do you know if it was a physical or intense confrontation with Hogan that Savage had?
Oh my God, no. Hulk walked up, "Randy, how you doing?" Shook hands with him and everything else, and Hulk went and watched the matches. He doesn't even have time for anything like that. I mean, good Lord Almighty. Biggest name in professional wrestling, got the VH1 special we're working on now, and I mean, just so many great things going on. If Hulk took time out of the day to worry about this, that, and the other, my gosh, what a miserable life you would have, right?
Well, Macho Man is actually getting involved in music these days, and, about a year ago, I guess it was, and I know that you're a big music buff. You actually had a pretty good career yourself, actually.
Oh, my God, I had a great career, but it wasn't that great. I wouldn't have been in professional wrestling. Now, we were lucky enough to have a gold record back with the Gentries and toured with Dick Clark and did Hullabaloo Shindig, Where the Action Is, and it led me to doing a lot of music for wrestling, Sexy Boy by Shawn Michaels, the Road Warrior songs, Nash and Hall, Wolfpack, Shawn Michaels, Sexy Boy, like I've already said, the Honky Tonk Man hit. So I've had a great time even in wrestling doing music.
Absolutely. The question I was going to ask you, though, is have you heard Macho Man CD?
You know what? I got to hear it a year ago. I was doing the Man Cow show. Randy was really a Man Cow called me when I was doing another promotion, and I got to listen to the song and everything else. And I guess like anything else, if it was going to be a big hit record, I guess it had already been one, I reckon. So I don't know. I never had it. I just heard about 30 seconds of the song while I was hanging on to the line for them to let me hear it and everything else. But I don't know if he's got album number 2 or 3 coming out or not, or going on tour or whatever. My world's so crazy doing our Memphis wrestling every other week. And by the way, we did a 6.3 this week in ratings with a 10 share.
Wow.
Jerry and us did down there for our Memphis show. And then up here doing the Total Non-Stop Action Wrestling for these guys. We got our brand new, after the first year, our DVDs coming out of the XWF, kind of the lost tapes, the tapes that really the world never got a chance to see with all the great superstars on them. So, it's going to be a good year for us.
And that is from the, I think you guys ran about 5 pay-per-views last year.
Yeah, we had the 5 pay-per-views. We had a lot of backstage footage nobody's ever seen yet. And also we had a lot of little bloopers and just so many one-on-one type things. And that's why I'm up here at Total Non-Stop Action Wrestling now. Every other Tuesday in the month, if you're up in a vacation up here, you can come check us out. Soundstage 21. It's absolutely free.
Absolutely. Sounds incredible. And once again, we can't thank you enough. And what's the name of the book?
The book is called Jimmy Hart, The Mouth of the South Story.
And, of course, you can check that out on Amazon.com. And Memphis Wrestling, if I'm not mistaken, is streamed through Jerry Lawler's website, is it not?
Absolutely. Jerry, runs a little replay of the shows each and every week. And so it's kind of an act of love with us. We all started down in Memphis, of course, and some of the biggest names came through Memphis. And, by the way, we've got to record it when you play this, but on the 26th, the day after Christmas, Jimmy Hart, Jerry Lawler tagging up for one more big time against Corey Macklin and Eugene from the WWE.
That was pretty cool, actually. I'll have to check that out. And that's at, help me out with this now. It's at jerrythekingLawler.com?
I believe it is. I never plug into it myself because every time we do the shows, it's always live, so I hate to watch reruns of it. So I think you're right, though. But if you get a chance, check it out.
I will. I'll double-check it before I put it on the air. Well, thank you very much, Jimmy. We greatly appreciate it, and I hope this book does well for you.
Thank you.
This is Missy Hyatt, and you're listening to the Interactive Interview.
The Christmas edition of the Interactive Interview. We're joined once again by the First Lady of Wrestling, Missy Hyatt. Missy, how you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you?
Like I said, I'm alive. You know, we just had a bit of a hectic week here. We had about 3 interviews scheduled, and about 3 of them go up in smoke. So we're yeah.
You know why? Because it's not just the Christmas edition, but you should also say and the kind of late because it's already over, but Hanukkah edition.
Oh, that's right. Well, yeah, for our Jewish community, and of course, I think Kwanzaa's what, the 27th.
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah. So, gotta be politically correct, I guess. Yeah.
Yes, you do.
Well, I just checked out Missy Hyatt and FrancineTV.com. I see that it's finally up and finally running. So.
Yes. Don't say finally.
Well, it was a couple weeks.
Let me tell you, it was going through some changes, and we needed to find the right webmaster, and we got the right webmaster that kicks tail, and this webmaster designed it, and hey, good things are worth waiting for. So we could put just anything up there.
Yeah, but you want it to be good.
To be the best.
Has to be perfect.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I was just checking it out, and it has a pretty cool looking design, and it has.
Isn't it great?
Yeah, and the pictures are, well, I'll just say very hot. I'll leave it at that. You might any males out there, and some females would probably enjoy this tremendously.
And the females will like it because of all the video.
And are they up?
Yes, we do.
I know. I saw that they have a video section, and on the old site it was pretty cool. But if I'm not mistaken, the last time I checked it out, the videos weren't up yet.
The video should be up because it's supposed to be updating the video every day, every other day, like just 10 minutes, and then pictures twice a week. So, yeah, and he has a lot of videos already encoded. If you have dial-up, it takes a lot longer. But if you're on DSL or if you're on high speed, it takes no time at all to get the videos up.
Absolutely.
And the videos are so funny. It's just me and Francine backstage, her and I at the house, going to wrestling shows. I mean, it's just some crazy funny stuff. I got her taking a shower, got her going to the bathroom, not seeing it, but, waking up in the morning and I stuck the camera in her face. She's like, get away from me. So it's all that inside stuff that no one ever gets to see.
Yeah, that sounds pretty cool, and I noticed that you guys are also doing...
There's no cuts, no retakes. We screw up, we just keep going.
And I also noticed that you guys have a section where you're going to do live chats.
That's right. Francine's going to be doing her chats on Monday night at 9 p.m. I believe she said 9 p.m. And I'm going to be doing mine on Sundays at 1 because we thought if I did mine in the afternoon that we could get people. We have a lot of members that are in the UK and Germany and, other countries.
Right.
So we're thinking maybe the time difference, they won't have to stay up and, at 10 o'clock at night will be like 5 in the morning for them.
Right, I know.
So we're hoping that at 1 o'clock in the afternoon on a Sunday will be good.
Yeah, I think the UK is 7 hours ahead because my partner's from the UK. He's not on the line right now, but he's going to be on the recap with us. We have...
Right, so 7 hours ahead.
Yep.
So, if it's 1 o'clock my time, then it would be, 8 his time?
Yeah, something like that. It's just a...
See, that would be great.
Yeah, it's just a wild... so that'd be good, and anybody can attend from any country because 1 o'clock in the afternoon, people should be out of bed by then, so...
Yeah, get out of bed. Hopefully me.
Yeah, you're a late sleeper too?
All the time.
Yeah.
Working at night and stuff, and then I have Sundays. I have 4 I have 4 shows next month on Sundays for Bang TV, Dory Funk's Bang TV. So I'm working a lot with them, like I always have been.
Mm-hmm.
And
you mentioned that in the last show, and
yeah,
did you say that you can watch those online? Did you say you watch those shows online, or?
I'm not sure. I know you can get the DVDs.
Uh-huh.
It's
Okay.
go to doryfunk.com.
That's pretty cool. And doryfunk.com.
Let me tell you, they have the best setup. And it's just really good for, like, not being, like, the big one. You know, it used to be the big 2, the big 3.
Right.
Then there's only, one big one.
Mm-hmm.
They're really, really good and impressive. So.
Mm-hmm. You know, they just released, and I don't know if there's anything going to be here, but I'm just going to ask it anyway. They just released The Rise and Fall of ECW, and it's Paul Heyman telling the story in it. There's 2 things that I noticed about this thing. For one, you're not mentioned, but another one that really surprised me is Francine's not mentioned.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Francine is the queen of extreme.
I totally agree, and I
can't wait to tell her that.
Oh, I don't think she's happy about it.
It's jealousy. And the only reason the rise of ECW came from Eastern Championship Wrestling, and it came from Terry Funk and the smartest man in the business, Eddie Gilbert.
Mm-hmm.
That's what started it all.
Yeah, right.
And then certain people came in, and a certain person kind of pushed him out of the way and took it over. But it was Eddie Gilbert. And he was the start of it. He's the one that brought all the hardcore wrestling from Japan over here, him and Terry Funk. And it was Paul who killed it.
Now, you're going to go on record as saying that you feel it was Paul Heyman that killed it?
Yes. I'm on record saying that. I mean, Paul could have kept it going, but he had the opportunity to go work for WWE, and, that was his wet dream, to go to work for them. So, he sacrificed everybody's jobs, a whole company, just to get a space on WWE TV. I love Paulie to death, but that's what he did.
One thing that I found pretty interesting about that thing, though, and I know that you once called Paul Heyman, he's like your brother, you described him as, is he was actually collecting...
He's like my brother, but, he's like a little brother of mine.
One of the things that struck me about
Jewish, and if sorry, we're both Jewish, and, we got together, and we became really good friends, and I believe in 1988. And he came to work with us. I begged Eddie Gilbert to let him come to work in Continental Wrestling Federation in Alabama. Eddie didn't want him, but I just, him and I would be up on the phone all night talking about wrestling, and I loved him, and nobody wanted to hire him, and it was me that got him hired, and, he ended up going to WCW with us, and we left Continental to WCW, so.
Yep. And one of the things that surprised me about this release is that he openly admits that while he was running ECW, he was getting a paycheck from the WWE to help scout talent for them. That really surprised me.
And it's kind of funny that ECW went bankruptcy with all the money that they made. The company might have gone bankruptcy, but Paulie didn't, because Paulie was writing checks to himself.
Yeah, well,
and Paulie's got so much money. So much money. Well, he let the company suffer, and, he took the money and stole the money and didn't pay Sabu and didn't pay a lot of people, and
oh, well,
really did some bad things. But you know what? No matter all that and all that, I still go back to remembering him as my friend in 1988, and he was my friend, and You know, what hurts me is what he did to Eddie Gilbert.
Right.
That really hurts me a lot, because that was someone that showed him and helped teach him, and he doesn't give him any credit for it.
Mm.
So
how exactly did you, when you said it earlier, and I don't mean to pry here,
what?
how exactly would you describe how he pushed Eddie out of the way, as you said earlier?
Well, when they were in Eastern Championship Wrestling, and then Paul came in, you know, he brought him in as like the help assistant book. Well, I don't know. See, I wasn't there at the time with the gist of it, but what I got from Peggy Gilbert is like just, you know, normal wrestling stuff, backstabbing,
right,
lying, and everything else. So.
Yeah. Well, once again, it's Missy Hyatt and FrancineTV.com.
Yes, Missy Hyatt and FrancineTV.com. And you can go to that site. There's a free section. There's awesome pictures. And it's
I'll vouch for that.
Inexpensive.
Yes, it's...
Join, and you get live chats. You get message boards. You get pictures. You get videos. I mean, it's awesome.
Yeah, it's actually a very well-designed site. It's very cool.
Yeah, it's very well-designed. And we have a new girl, Gigi.
Yep.
And then I think the next photo shoot, I've been talking to Lanny Kai.
Wow, I haven't heard that name in a while.
Yeah, she's hot. So I might get Lanny Kai to come.
Wasn't she, and then correct me if I'm wrong, she was a WWF wrestler, wasn't she? I'm almost positive.
Was she?
I'm almost positive. I could be wrong.
Well, then, if she was, woohoo, that's good for us. You know, I'd like for her to come. But, you know, the thing is, it's for men and women.
Mm-hmm.
Our videos are like soap operas, and they're fun, and people get a giggle out of them. Mm. Even my friends that watch them, that know me, they're like, oh, my gosh, that's so you. You know, it's me.
Very cool.
We don't do any retakes. We don't do any, you know, if something messes up, we just keep going.
Very cool.
Real reality.
Very cool. Well, once again, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, and everyone have a happy holidays, Merry Christmas, belated Hanukkah, and Kwanzaa that's coming up.